Welcome to video number 2 on the channel, and I can't wait for you guys to see this one. If you've been following my Instagram for a while now, you'll know that my photography and editing style is very ethereal and atmospheric. So in this video I'm going to show you my exact step-by-step process to how I create my atmospheric lighting in Photoshop. I also just want to let you know that my screen recorder didn't actually record the bottom of my screen. So if you're wondering why you can't see any masks or adjustment layers, then that'll be the reason why. Also, this video will be quite an advanced video tutorial, so bear that in mind. But without any further ado, let's show you exactly how I create my atmospheric lighting in Photoshop. So, here we are in Lightroom. I just want to say that most of the tutorial will be in Photoshop. So I'm basically just starting off in Lightroom now so we can just transfer it straight over to Photoshop. Okay, so we're in Photoshop now, we've loaded the image in. So the basics behind my atmospheric lighting are some techniques that not a lot of people, I feel, know about or use. Which is a shame because the techniques which I am going to show you are, well, quite different, but I think work really well in like landscapes and portrait photography as well. So without further ado, let's crack on and start editing this image for you. So the first thing we want to do is come over to our layers. We want to unlock that layer and duplicate this about 5 times. And the reason we do this is to basically split the image up into sections basically. So we'll have one for the sky in the background, we'll have one for the middle, the rocks in the center here, we'll have one for each of these pillars, and it's basically just to break the image up. So we'll name this sky, and you'll see as we go along, you'll see why what I mean by all this. So we'll go duplicate that again, we'll name this middle rocks, and again we'll name this right pillar for the pillar on the right here. We'll do another one, call that left pillar. Okay, so we've got our sections here. We're going to leave this layer, layer 0 as the original. We'll just name that to original. Okay, so we've got a layer for each of the pillars, right and left. We've got the middle rocks and the sky. So the basics behind this this atmospheric effect is we want to cut these sections up into their own sections like I've labeled them as. So the way we're going to do that is if we go to the sky layer, we want to then select the quick selection tool and basically just select out the sky. Now the sky can be a bit tricky because it's going to want to it's going to want to select parts which, you know, aren't like here. It's like this section, here. I think it does it for like everything you select, but as you'll see for these pillars on the side here, it kind of knows what it's supposed to select. So we'll just go ahead here and select the sky. Well, I'm not selecting the sky, I'm just trying to mask out everything that it doesn't need to select. Okay, that's okay. We're going to drag this down to here. Okay, but yeah, that's looking okay so far. So we have our sky selected. So now we want to come down to the layers panel down here and select this mask icon down here. Now what that is going to do is take that selection and put it in its own like layer, as you'll see now. If we just unhide all of these, you'll see now that we have that sky perfectly, or so, apart from these little bits here, masked out. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go through the rest of these layers, and I'll probably speed through this bit so it's a little bit quicker for you guys, but it's essentially the same process. We're just masking out each of these layers into their own separate layer. So what I'll do is I'll speed through this quickly, and yeah, I'll get back to you once that's done.
I've been contemplating all my time. My thoughts make me tired, just running through my mind. Wonder if there's peace that I can find, instead of always being on the grind. I need a new purpose, I'm looking for so much more. Don't leave me here searching, you're just what I'm longing for. When times are getting crazy and everything seems hazy, is there someplace?
So now we have finally finished splitting our image up into separate layers. So if we head over to our layers panel now, and just turn all these off for a second, we have our left pillar, our right pillar, our central rocks, and our sky. And then when all put together, it creates our final image. Now this is important when we create our atmospheric lights, is so that we can then clip these individual lights to those layers and have them only affect them layers. That means we can actually change how much light these individual layers have, which gives us a lot of control when trying to apply these atmospheric lights to the image. So how do we do this? We create our atmospheric lights using gradients. Now, not the gradient map filter, but the actual gradient filter in the adjustment layers. So let me go ahead and show you what I mean by this. If we head over to our layers and select our middle rocks, we're basically going to start here, because I think it's a good position to start, and just basically explain how we do this. So if we select our middle rocks and head down to the adjustment layer, we then want to select gradient. Not the gradient map, like I said, but the actual gradient. This will pop up a gradient fill box, and as you can see, we have our gradient. If you've got a different color selected, we can change this by hitting the gradient option here, and a gradient editor will pop up, and you can change the color to any color that you like. Essentially, I've done it to a nice quite a low saturated orange to give us that warmth. We'll then select OK on those, and as you can see, we've actually got a linear gradient here, which I guess would be okay, but for these middle rocks, what I want to do is create a radial gradient. Now we do that by going to the style and selecting radial. If we place this here, you kind of see what we're going for here. Kind of gives us this like sun glow. For atmosphere, you can, like I said, you can kind of see where we're going with this. So yeah, what we'll do now is let's just increase the scale a little bit here. Probably a bit too much. It's probably something like 140. Okay, so let's just place this behind this rock here. Now this is just to demonstrate why while splitting this image up into separate layers is so important, because now that we place this gradient behind these two, well, essentially the left pillar and the right pillar, it looks like the light is going behind these two pillars, which is exactly what we want. And it looks okay so far, but what we can do now is right click on this gradient layer and create a clipping mask. This will clip it just to those middle rocks there, which means now we have a lot of control on how much of this atmospheric light will affect these rocks, and just these rocks only. So we just want to select this gradient fill option again. Just to bear in mind that if you want to move this gradient around, you can only do it when this gradient fill box is open by clicking this little layer here. So just to note that. So I just want to basically scale this accordingly, just not to have it so much that it's overpowering, probably something like that. Probably a little bit less than that actually, probably something like that. Maybe, yeah, something like that maybe. So yeah, you just want to kind of judge it on how you think, how much light you basically want in this, on these rocks here basically. So, okay, so we'll click OK on that. We then want to select screen. And then after that, we can just basically reduce the opacity of this light. We'll probably say 50%, 49, 48. Looks okay. And then if we hide this layer, and if we turn on and off this layer here, we can exactly see what that's doing to the image. Now I think this is such a great way to give you so much control over these lights. Yeah, so every time I do this, it blows my mind to like how much control you actually have, and I think it's just such a neat way of adding these lights to an image. So what I will do now is go ahead and create the rest of the lights for these other sections here.
I'm not off the juice, baby, but I walk in a room and I'm stumbling. Loosen the noose, baby, what a man gotta do to get up in it. Cruise down Melrose at the top, down in the Astons. Tight like Velcro, we can talk about all of your passions and your fashion. We could fit a drink in a space on your passport. Driving to your place with the brace on the dashboard. Straight to the jeweler from the bank, back boy. I can get you anything you need if you ask for it. See, I don't wanna be what you could have said. FRANDS, but I'm gonna take that chance, to mama. Spin around, drop to your dance, to mama. Bottle in the booth, get the check out of Roma. Beat it up, got the pussy in a coma. I don't understand how you moving that way. Giving you my all, hero day or for the day. Purple city tough, yeah, you could've had a V8. Shorty, I'm all you need, yeah, but I'm gonna lose my self-control. I'm not off the juice, baby, but I walk in a room and I'm stumbling. Loosen the noose, baby, what a man gotta do to get up in it. Cruise down Melrose at the top, down in the Astons. Tight like Velcro, we can talk about all of your passions and your fashion. We could fit a drink in a space on your passport. Driving to your place with the brace on the dashboard. Straight to the jeweler from the bank, back boy. I can get you anything you need if you ask for it. Every time I'm dropping the top on the acid, swear my heart is colder. Show me that love and we get to romance it. Can't deny that I'm coming over.
So I'll let you decide yourself whether you prefer with these atmospheric lights on or off. For me, this is just my style and how I like to edit my photos. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into these the next part of this video, where I'll show you some interesting techniques to create some, I guess, rays, light rays, I guess, for our images. So yeah, let's waste no more time and head into the next part of the video. To do this, we're going to select, we want the middle rocks selected, and then we'll even put it above this gradient option here so it doesn't get clipped with the gradient option. So we'll go above, we'll select the gradient option above the middle rocks. We will then go down to the adjustment layer and add in another gradient. We put this over the original clipped gradient so that it doesn't get clipped to the rocks. So once this has been done, another gradient fill box will open up and we have our gradient. So for this one, we want to, we'll use a linear gradient just because I think it's going to be easier for what we need to do. So we'll change the angle again to about 170, which is just about perfect, and put this up in the top right hand corner. Now it's going to disappear, but that's completely okay because what we're looking to do is increase the scale. Now as we do this, it creates this, what I can only describe as such an amazing soft glow. Now we don't want this, the reason we've hid it out of the image because we don't want it super harsh like this. We want it further out the image so that when we increase the scale, it just gives this nice soft glow. Even that's probably a bit too much, to be honest. We'll say something, we'll say about 300. 300 should do fine. So we're going to keep it there. We will then select OK to this. Now, how we do our, like, I don't want to say light rays, but essentially is a light ray. Now how we do this is with not the quick selection tool, but with the pen tool. So we kind of just want to mask out a kind of like a light ray here. So we'll put a point here, and it's just disappeared. Point here, point there, and we'll just round it off here. There we go. So we've masked out roughly where we want this gradient to be applied to. Now we're going to make this selection, click OK on that, and we have our selection. So how we do this is by going back onto our, we'll name this just so we don't get confused, we'll call it ray. And then we go over to our, this little gradient, this masking option here, which is this little white box. We'll select that. We then want to head over to our color options here and select the black. We'll also find our paint bucket tool. Now by selecting the black color with the paint bucket and pressing here, what that's going to do is anything that we fill in with the selection, inside the selection, anything we fill with black is going to take away, and anything white will be kept. So this isn't exactly what we need because it's done it in reverse. So essentially what we need to do is undo this. We'll do Shift Control I, which will invert the selection, and then we'll select it again. And as you can see, what that's done is inverted the selection. So essentially what we have now, if we press Control D to deselect that, we essentially have our light ray here. Now it's a little bit hard here, so what we're going to do is soften that up a little bit. Again, we'll select with the, we'll have the mask, the ray mask selected. We'll click our little paintbrush option here. We will reduce the size of this probably to something about like that. Make sure we have a color of black because we want to take away this light ray. So what we want to do is just roughly go down the edge here, not taking too much, but just to soften that edge there so it's not too hard. We also needed just a soft, but take the hardness right down for that as well. So we have a soft brush, I forgot to mention that. So when we select our brush, make sure the hardness is right down to 0 to make it so that you have a soft brush when doing that. So now we've taken that edge off that ray, which I think looks a lot better. Or if, like I said, it's all personal preference. You could keep it like that if you wanted to, but it's all personal preference. We're going to keep it soft for now. And yeah, so for this, what I'm going to do, I mean, we could go screen again, which I think we might actually do. I think that looks a little bit better than, oh no, sorry, screen. I think it does look a little bit better than, actually it's kind of the same, I can't really tell much. difference in that. So what we'll do is we'll just go ahead, just to make it the same as everything else, we'll go screen, and then we can just reduce the opacity of that a little bit. And now you can see with it on and off what that's doing to the image. Now what we can do is take this a little bit further and essentially add a little bit more haze with this to make it a little bit more misty. So what we're going to do here is create another layer above this ray gradient, and then what we're going to do again is select the color picker, take that right down to black, click OK, and then go to our paint tool if we can find it. There we go. And just fill, what we'll do, just for demonstration, we'll put this we'll call it ray texture, just to actually name it something. So with this ray texture, we're going to put it to the top, just so we can see what's going on here. So essentially we filled a layer with the paint bucket tool and made it completely black. So what we're going to do now is go to our filter options, go to where we are, add noise, and then here what we're going to do is select Gaussian or Gaussian. I've never known how to pronounce this word. We're just going to go Gaussian, and also select monochromatic. We're going to select OK here, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go to, if we can find it, blur. We're going to go to blur, filter again, and blur more. Now, after doing this, we've essentially created a mist, atmospheric mist texture for our light ray. So what we need to do now is take this ray texture, bring it down below the right pillar, but above our ray gradient. So just in this little area here, you'll see this has gone behind our two pillars, which is exactly what we want. We now want to select our ray, the mask for our ray gradient, and right click it. This will select the outline of our the ray mask. We then want to select our ray texture here, and then select our mask. What this essentially is doing is copying that mask, copying that selection, and then copying it to our fresh layer. And then by selecting mask has basically essentially copied the mask layer there as well. So we've got the same mask on two separate layers. Now what we need to do here, because it doesn't look right, so we're going to have our ray texture selected. We're going to select the actual layer, not the mask, and then we are going to go to our blend mode and select screen. Now as you can see here, it's gone a little bit, it's gone quite foggy here, but we can see what that's done. It's just added a bit of grain to that mist, a little bit of grain to that mist layer. But we don't want it that prominent, because it does look quite foggy right now. So we'll just reduce this a little bit, and it's just about balance, to be honest. So we can have the texture more prominent, and we can reduce the ray, or we can have the ray more prominent and reduce the texture. It's completely down to you, and that's why we doing it this way. We have a lot of options for making things the way we want them. So for this, I think I'll just reduce this ray texture a little bit, down to about 26. You can see it's still there. You can see what it's doing. And then what we'll do is maybe even reduce this down to about 36 maybe. So if we just zoom out here a bit, we have, what I'll do now is just show you what these two layers are doing. So that's with the layers off, with the ray layer on, and then with the ray texture on as well. You can basically just see there what that's doing to the image. So yeah, what we're going to do now is head back into Lightroom and just do a couple of final adjustments, and just adjust like the contrast and the light, just to bring it all together really. And yeah, we'll finish off. We'll save this out, bring it back to Lightroom, and we'll finish up there.
Come and pick me up, meet me at the spot. Up all night to the sunrise. Pop back cool, get ready for the ride. Don't it feel good? Don't it feel good? Holy moly, guacamole in my pockets. What a blessing. Got it on me.
So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the video. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, and also hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload another video. I won't do many of these tutorial videos, I don't think. If I think there's something out there that I use for my own photos, then I very well may do another video like this for that as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and yeah, I'll see you in the next one.
I just wanna have fun. Come and pick me up, meet me at the spot. Up all night to the sunrise. Pop back cool, get ready for the ride. Don't it feel good? Don't it feel good? Don't it feel good? How you feel? Turn it up a notch, pop up clean room. Everyday celebration, take a true vacation. You deserve a day.